You may have had an idea once, maybe when you were in the process of begging the government to give you electricity after 3 days with no light, or when you were hungry and realized that a bag of rice was now 100,000. You may have had the bright idea, what if we just sold the country and kept the money for ourselves? Well, first of all, I'd like you to know that this is a very stupid idea, but at the same time, I don't want you to feel bad that you had this stupid idea, because the truth is, this might be a stupid idea now, but it wasn't always like that. In fact, it has been done before. This is the story of how a man sold Nigeria and made a lot of money doing it. To understand how Nigeria was sold, we need to meet the man behind the deal, Sir George Goldie. Goldie's company, the Royal Niger Company, wasn't just any company. It was basically an Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Tesla of the 19th century. That is, if Amazon, Facebook, Google, and Tesla were into colonial exploitation, which, of course, they probably are. George Goldie controlled trade and taxes in Nigeria, and he even had his own army. It was all going well for a while, until things began to get out of hand. George Goldie and his Royal Nigeria Company quickly realized that running an entire country is a tedious and absolutely expensive affair. Eventually, he did what any businessman would do when a project starts losing money. He sold the country. To whom? The British government. Wait, weren't the British in charge of Nigeria at this point? Nope. The Royal Niger Company was in charge, and they were British, but they weren't the British government. The government before then had outsourced the business of colonization to private guns, literally, allowing them to subjugate and enslave Africans and have their own armies. Ultimately, though, the private company realized that governments should run a country, so they sold. Some say it was one of the best business deals in history. And how much did they get? Well, they got £865,000. That's 923,768 square kilometers over 200 ethnic groups, vast resources, and a future population of more than 200 million people, all sold for £865,000. To put that in perspective, the average transfer fee for a football player in the Premier League today is around £25 million. That means you can buy a bang average football player for £25 million, but the whole country of Nigeria cost £865,000. Of course, you can argue that the figure needs to be adjusted for inflation. And of course, adjusting for inflation, it's higher. But even so, it only goes up to a little over £46 million. So you don't get a bang average football player, you get a slightly above average football player. Anthony, one of the worst footballers in Manchester United history, commanded a transfer fee of around £100 million. And the best part of the deal, nobody told the Nigerians about it or asked for their permission, which makes sense, of course, because when you think of it, the country is still being sold till this very day. And I don't know about you, but I can assure you I haven't gotten squat from anybody. Once Britain officially bought Nigeria, things changed. They did what every new landlord does. They raised taxes and started making rules. Colonial rule became legally established. The British didn't just have a receipt. They were going to make sure they extracted every possible resource they could get their hands on. And they continue till this very day. Nigeria is still dealing with the consequences of this transaction, from our borders, economy, government structure, and even day-to-day problems. Thank you, Britain. By the way, George Goldie's Royal Niger Company still exists today. Its name is Unilever.